Hi everyone, this is Debbie from Project 39 and welcome to the tutorial for the Great Outdoors Wanderer's Notebook. The idea behind this is a great gift to give to somebody or for yourself who's going to be going on an adventure and to inspire them to journal their trip. So that is why it includes a covered book, and I also have room inside the book for preserving some wildflowers, some bookmarks so they can add to them if they want. And then you can add colored pencils, watercolors, markers, or whatever you want to have them document their travels. This would be great if they're going camping, hiking, to national parks, or something like that. And good for young people and old. You know, we're never too old to doodle pictures of birds and leaves that we see. So what I'm going to do is show you how to make it. So following is the tutorial. I do have the list of all of the materials you'll need in the description box below. So go ahead and follow along with me. I suggest watch it through once, take notes, and then watch it through again, stopping and pausing as you need to make it with me. I also show you at the end how I decorated it, which I don't always do, but people had been asking, so I thought I'd show you a real quick version of how I decorate the book. So go ahead and grab a cup of coffee or something cold to drink and follow along. I'm doing a voiceover in the beginning. We'll switch to live towards the middle of the video. So for chipboard, you'll need 5.5 by 7.5, 2 pieces, and a 7.5 by 2.25 inch spine. I've put tape on the back. I didn't have any score tape sheets, which would be fabulous. I had a couple of long strips, so I am supplementing that by adding glue. And I've already cut and put on the scoreboard the paper to cover the chipboard cover. It's 7.5 by 9.5. So here I'm covering what is not covered with the score tape with adhesive. And I have these chipboard shims. You can get some great acrylic ones from countrycraftcreations.com. And they are great to help you put the chipboard straight on the cover. So I'm adhering that, and you see there's a perfect 1 inch around all 4 sides. I'm going to burnish it real well, and then I'll go and gently take my burnishing tool and find where those edges are, where the edges are all around it. And then I'll take it and put it flat on the table and push down and burnish again, so I know exactly where the edges of the paper are. Do that to all 4 sides. And by the way, I'm just going to do one cover here. The other cover I do off screen, but I do the spine, which is done a little differently. So still push it down, burnish it, just so I can see where the edges are exactly. And now that I know, on the corners you'll see 4 little squares. So I take my scissors and cut those squares off. Sorry, I'm a little off the camera, but just cut those squares right off. Just taking your scissors and going on your fold line. All right, and then to prevent any overhang, I'll fold in one side, put my scissors up against the chipboard, and cut off. You see how much is coming off? It's just a little sliver, but that way I know there's not going to be any overhang. And I turn it upside down so I can do it on the other side. So all 8 sides of the cardstock have been trimmed with just a sliver. Clean up a little bit before I go any further. And then I'm taking my liquid adhesive and I'm using the Art Institute Art Glitter Glue. It doesn't have glitter in it, but it's a good strong glue. And pushing that cardstock up against the edge of the chipboard, and then I burnish it real well. Just making sure the glue is adhered and making sure it'll stick down nicely. The great thing about this method is you don't see any of the cardstock showing. There are other methods of covering the chipboard. This method was designed by Tamara from Country Craft Creations, and I like it. It's a nice way of making a cover. So we'll go through the other couple of sides. Again, burnish on the edge to make sure the edge of the chipboard is covered. And I'm fairly generous with the glue. I want to make sure it's going to stick. If any of the glue seeps out, you can use an old, not an old, but a baby wipe that's been cleaned and dried just to get some of the extra lint off. And that's a great way to, when I mean clean, just rinse it out in water and let it dry. But that's a good way of getting all the excess glue out, and it also helps you burnish the glue down. Okay, I'm going to do the other one here, but I'm going to do it in fast motion. Boy, I could get a lot of mini albums done if I worked this fast all the time. So after I've finished the second cover, I'll grab another piece of chipboard, 7.5 by 2 1/4 for the spine. And the cardstock that I'll use to cover that is 5 1/4 by 9.5. Whoops, this isn't it. Hang on. In covering this spine is a little bit different. I mean, we're still going to use shims, but the shims for the side are 1.5 instead of 1. So it's got a little bigger, I call it a wing, on either side of the spine. Now this one I put down score tape on the whole thing, so here I'm burnishing. I didn't put any glue yet. So grab my burnishing tool. I'll use my bone folder this time. Burnish it real well, and then again find the edges with my bone folder. Yep, there we go. Find the edge with the bone folder. And then I will fold it down the same way I did. Whoops, where's the edge? Fold it down the same way I did with the cover. But don't go too fast ahead, because like I said, this is done a little bit differently than the cover. On the cover, you're going to put all 4 sides and fold it onto the cover. With the spine, you're going to leave the wings exposed. I'm still folding it, and instead of cutting off the corners, I'm going to cut at a diagonal from one edge of that rectangle to the other. Okay, and then I will go ahead, clean up a little bit. Come on, don't be messy. You should see all the area around what I'm doing. But anyhow, add my liquid adhesive to that trapezoid shape. Is that what that is? I would only know that from watching hockey. And then grabbing the bone folder, push up so the paper is against the edge of the chipboard. I'll do that with this side because I put the glue on. And then I'm going to turn it over and push it down and burnish it. Probably should do this on my work surface so I don't get glue on my scoreboard, but it's okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing with scissors. Put the edge of the scissors against the chipboard and cut a sliver off ever so slightly. Should have used my big scissors for that. Alright, come on. Let's cut off the last sliver. And we're done. Alright, good. I'm cleaning as I go. That's a good thing. Alright, then we're going to, still using the scoreboard, I put a strip of score tape about 1/2 inch from where the chipboard is underneath. And then I'm going to take some liquid adhesive and going about 1/4 inch away from our fold. I'm sorry, I wish I had this a little bit better, but I've done this on other videos. And apparently my glue is stopped up, so I have to clean that before I go any further. There we go. So I'll put some here on the edge of this wing, and then trying to do a straight line. Can't draw a straight line, can't glue a straight line. But again, stay 1/4 inch, don't go any closer than 1/8 inch. So somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 inch away from the actual spine. And then put the cover face down onto where I have the glue and the adhesive. We'll burnish that real well. Using the scoreboard is genius, because that way you make sure you get a nice straight cover. Since I can't draw a straight line or glue a straight line, I probably can't determine what a straight line is to make the cover. So grab the other cover, just sort of pull it across till it hits the right spot, push it down, and burnish it real well. And then I'll just put this aside to let it dry. Alright, for the hinge we're going to take, oh, that's not my scoring utensil, a piece of cardstock that's 7 1/4 by 8 1/2. The 7 1/4 inch side is to the side. We're going to start the scoring at 3 1/8, 3 5/8, 4 1/8, 4 3/8, 5 7/8. No, I'm sorry, 4 7/8 and 5 3/8. So you've got 5 sections. You have a hinge, a gusset, a hinge, a hinge. So let's move our scoreboard aside and let's take some 1/4 inch tape. And so we're going to put this score tape on either side of the line that's in the center of the 2 hinges. So just follow along my example. So it's going to be on the bottom of the top hinge, the top of the next hinge, skip the gusset, skip that 1/4 inch piece, and the bottom of the next hinge, and the top of his partner, or her partner, or their partner. Alright, so we've got those 2 groupings for our hinges. Now turn it over. So now we have the bumpy side up, and I'm going to take this 1/4 inch tape and go from end to end on that gusset, that 1/4 inch piece. We're going to put the 1/4 inch tape. I'm going to use my ruler just to get a nice even line. Now I'm going to take some 3/8. You can use the 1/4 inch if you want, but I'm going to use the 3/8 just so you can see what I'm doing a little better. Alright, so we have the 2 hinges. We're going to make them stick together. To do that, I'm going to put a piece of score tape butting up against that 1/4 inch piece. And we're going to take another one on the very last hinge, the one closest to the bottom, and put it on the score line close to the bottom. Well, on the half-inch piece close to that score line. You don't want to really go over that score line. And let's burnish that. Make sure that's burnished nice. All right, now we're going to add a piece of score tape. So we have the two wings. We're going to add score tape on both sides of the wings. So again, don't go on top of the score line, but stay on this side of it. Okay, now we're going to turn it over. So where we've got these two pieces, we're going to fold and burnish in between those two pieces. So there's one, there's two. Now I'm going to unfold it and put it flat on my table, and I'm going to put my thumb down and my fingers in the top, and I'm going to pull the paper towards me so it forms a mountain. And we'll do the next with the next one too. Forms a mountain. I'm going to bend it back and forth just so they get a little bit trained, but I'm not going to even use my bone folder. All right, turn it upside down again, and without flattening it out. So you've got, there's the mountain. So in the underside of the mountain, there's the score tape. So just peel off the backing on that 1/2 inch piece and the other 1/2 inch piece too. So you've still got the wing, the gusset, the other wing. Now gently turn it over and don't push it down, but we're going to pull these two pieces together so they adhere. And now we'll burnish. Fold that one way, burnish, fold it the other way, and burnish. So now it's where it needs to be. So let's go ahead and take some scissors and just cut off, let me see if I can show you this way. Just cut off here at about a 45-degree angle, just up to that 1/4 inch score tape. We're just going to take a 1/4 inch off of each side. So yeah, my score tape doesn't go to the end, but I'm still going to go about a 1/4 inch. Okay, so there are our two hinges. We'll grab our book. So I could have filled this in with score tape, but I'm going to use my liquid adhesive. So I'm going to peel off those 3 pieces. A little tape sticking out, so I'm just going to fold it in the inside. And I am going to center it top to bottom and side to side. Get it as close to the center as you can. I'm going to just put it down. I'm not pushing it. I'm going to just double check the top and make sure that there's about the same amount so it's not cattywampus. It is a little bit off, so I'm moving it. Okay. All right, now that we know that it's good, I'm going to hold this down, put my finger between these two hinges and push down that score tape with my finger. Then I'm going to move this one over and push down the score tape there and move them both over to the right and push my score tape down. The reason I don't like using a bone folder on here is sometimes it scratches it. Now if you have a Teflon bone folder, go for it. All right, so now I'm going to tape the rest of this down. I'm sorry, not tape. I'm going to use liquid adhesive to get it all down. And we'll do the same with this side. I'm going to put it here on the side, on the top, all the way to the bottom. Now to get the underside, I'm just going to put it on the, which actually I'm putting it on the spine. And And like that. Gonna grab my baby wipe and then I'm gonna burnish. I'm not gonna fold this yet at the spine. I will in a little bit, but I'm gonna let it dry first. So let's, I know there's a lot of schmutz. Let's just put that aside, let it dry, and we'll come back to it. Now we're going to make the boxes. So you'll need a piece of either a heavyweight cardstock. Don't use 65-pound. Use, well, I mean, if that's all you have, use that. But I'm using 110 for this example. You can use, and you should use, the Country Craft Creations Artisan Cardstock. That is 87, 83. For some reason, that number does not stick in my head. So with the, let's start with the long side at the top. We're going to score at 1, at 5, and 5.5. 1, 5, 5.5. Rotate with the 1-inch piece at the top. It's probably not important, but score at 1, 1.5. Now score at 6 7/8 and 7 3/8. Now we'll do that to 2 of them. And I'm going to grab my scissors. I'm going to grab my long scissors first. Give me long scissors. Because I can't cut a straight line. Oh, let me show you what we're going to cut first. I'll show you with this white gel pen. We're going to cut that off. We're going to cut that off. We're going to cut this one and this one. We're going to cut this one. We're not going to cut that one. We're not going to cut that. We will cut this, and we'll get rid of these 4 long rectangles. Now we're also going to miter as we cut. So we're going to miter this one, and we're going to miter these 2 little tabs ever so slightly. I will show you by example. I'm going to start at the bottom because I have my long scissors. And you can put this back into your paper trimmer if you want. So just go up to that first score line from the bottom. Or you could use an X-Acto. I really recommend some long bladed scissors. To me, they are the best way of cutting straight. Alright, now I'm going to take my shorter scissors and I'm going to go across that first score line up to the second. Same here, across that first score line up to the second, and we're going to cut off this little one like I said we're going to, and we're going to just miter this ever so slightly. Okay, we're going to cut this off and miter this piece slightly. So I'm going to do the miter, going up to that score line, and then cut this. And then we're going to cut here, go up here, and that'll cut off those 2 long rectangles, trim this, and miter. Okay, get rid of all those X's. Alrighty, now we are going to burnish at all of the score lines, and I'm going to burnish into the fold. So I turn it over, the bumps are facing up now. into the fold. Burnish there, burnish here, there. We'll do these ones. And these little tabs I'm just going to fold in. Okay. All right, first thing we're going to do is this 1-inch piece that's got the mitered corners. We're going to put glue on there and we're folding that in. It's okay that I've got those lines. You will never see them. Okay, now you can use, I'm going to use just a little piece of score tape. My theory is the score tape will hold while the glue is drying. And because I get real impatient with these little things, I will use that. So now I will also add glue. So this is sort of folded in. We didn't turn it upside down again. I'm going to put glue on both of these. And on these little tabs, I'm going to add some glue there. And now I'm going to take this big piece and fold it over. And I'm going to make sure that the bottom lines up with that 1/2-inch tab, because we didn't miter that. And now make sure this bottom piece fits, goes there. We just want nice, crisp, clean, 90-degree angles where where everything meets. And there we go. Now I turned it over, and I'm going to take my bone folder and put it inside our little box and burnish it real well, and make sure that little tab is down on the bottom. No. Make sure that little tab, not on the bottom, want it to hit the side. It'll just close it up nice and neatly. It's not the end of the world, but it closes it up. All right, so now we have a box. Well, sort of a box, it's open. Okay, let us grab an 8.5 by 5.5. I know I have one already cut. Piece of the heavyweight cardstock. There it is. All right. So we're going to get our scoreboard. I guess I could have done this when we did the other one. With the 8.5 side at the top, we're going to score at 1 and 1.5. You know what? I said this is 8.5 by 5.5, but what I really want to do is take off 1/8 of an inch. So make this 8.5 by, not 8 by 5.5, but 8 by 8.5 by 5 3/8. Because this is going to be a smidgen smaller than 5.5. It's 5 3/8 also, so that's why I want this to be. Let's go ahead and miter these corners at the top from that score line in. Can you see that? I don't know what happened to my light. Actually, there's sun coming in. It's been rainy all day. All right, now we've got that. So we are going to adhere them right justified. So go to the right side. So it's going to be right up against the edge and against the bottom, and this will be at the top. Let's burnish this in the folds. Burnish at the score lines. Let's put this piece on first. I'm just going to add a little piece of score tape there. Just to be sure it sticks while the glue is drying. Peel off the backing. Okay. I'm going to go up to the side, into the bottom, make sure it's all lined up, and do the same thing we did. Go inside and burnish. And then let's take this little flap, put some adhesive on the 1-inch flap. Gonna make sure it's lined up to the top and the side. On this one, because it wiggles, I'm just using liquid adhesive so I can manipulate it a little. If you want, you can use the score tape, but I'm just going to use the liquid adhesive. Make sure that's in nice and straight and good, and burnish. All right, go ahead and do the other side, and of course you're going to keep it to the left side. You don't want to put it near the score line. Go ahead and do that, and then we'll continue. All right, now we're going to make the page, and the page is basically just going to be a tube. So to start, you'll need 2 pieces of paper, one 8 1/4 by 5 and one 7 1/4 by 5. 7 1/4 by 5 we'll put aside, and the 8 1/4 just score at 1/2 inch, rotate completely, and score 1/2 inch. And then I like to grab scissors and just miter the corners just a little bit. There we go. And then I'm going to take my bone folder and fold into the bump. So we'll fold there and burnish, fold there and burnish, and then I'll grab my glue. I like using liquid adhesive. I used to just use score tape and the liquid adhesive. Whoops, I left it open too long. But I'm just going to use my Art Glitter Glue Dries Clear. It has nothing to do with glitter. It's just, it's just made by the Art Glitter Company. All right, take the 7 1/4 by 5 and line it up. Put it down and burnish. And that is all you have to do to make your tube. Now, the tubes are the pages, and we add different things to them. So we'll take one, and I've already done these, so we're not going to do them together, but you will need 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and just score, putting the 5 1/2 side at the top, just score 1/2 inch. So you'll have all 4 of those. And you'll also take I did it, but I didn't measure it. 7 1/4 by 4 1/4 and score at 1 inch and 1 1/8. Do 2 of those, 1 inch and 1 1/8. Now I'm going to miter these. I'm not going to miter the smaller ones, just up to the first score line. And we will take these first. Just move things out of the way. And I'm going to put glue here. I guess I could have cut it down 1/2 inch, but to 1/2 inch, but I didn't. And I'm going to put it on the bottom, centering it from side to side. And I'll go ahead and burnish and burnish. So it's got a 1/8 of an inch gusset, just so it allows for room for all the other fun things we're going to put in here. So I'm going to burnish on the score lines, and again center this and put it on. So I will add a magnet to the inside of here. I just put a little circle there so I remembered to do that. Now let's open these up. And so we're going to have these two on one side and the other two on the other. And I'm going to start at the top first. Put some adhesive and line it up with the side. I'm about 1/8 of an inch from the top. And then open that up and do the other one for that side. And put that down. And don't go over the score line of the, oops, my glue is on my hand. Don't go over the score line of the one on top. Just keep it down so then this will still fold. All right, and then we will do the same for the other side. And if you want, you can start at the bottom first and then the top, but I'm going to keep it the same way and have the top one first. And then the one on the bottom. So open that up, put this one down. Okay, so we've got that and that, that and that. This one looks like it's about 1/16 of an inch too big. So I am just going to grab my long scissors and just trim it. I should have probably dry fit it first to make sure. Go. And then this, and then this. So that allows for, there will be a cut apart on the front, but you can put a photo here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 photos for this little one. And the photos here are going to be smaller. You can put 4x4 photos, but again, if you take a 4x6 photo, I'm sure you'll find there's some things in the side that don't need to be there, and cut them down. So there's one. Now that is going to be the front. So on the back, we're going to take 5.5 by 7.5 piece of cardstock. We're going to score with the short side on the top, score on the long side at 1/2 inch. We'll do it to both while we're at it. And I will do the right thing and miter the corners. And your scoreboard out of the way. Okay, so there's the front. Here's the back. Take my bone folder and burnish. Add some adhesive. And that is going to go right here on the back to make an extra page. Yeah, I see the glue got all over it, but that's okay. Okay, so we will have that in the front, and then you'll turn the page and you have this one. And then we have our other tube. Add adhesive, and that's going to go on the left side. And if you want, you can add magnets here. So that's going to go like that, and then we need to do the back side. And let's put the pages in the book. So here's the book. Here's our pages. I'm going to start with the back one first. So peel off the backing to the score tape. And I'm going to just add a line of glue at the top, and I'll show you why in a second. So page 1 has all the flaps, so put that aside. Page 2 has the one flap and then the page, so we still can make the tube, and I'm going to put the tube over that, and make sure you go down past where the 1/4 inch score tape is, but not all the way to the bottom. And I'm going to just lightly burnish that. Don't dig down into there. Okay, and then I'm going to grab my fingers and push against that so that glue adheres. So the glue will sort of form a seam there and enclose it, because otherwise if you stick something in the pocket, it might hit the score tape, and the score tape doesn't ever dry out, so it might just get stuck inside the pocket. We don't want that. Alright, let's make sure we have this the right way. Alright, here's the flap. Here's the pocket. We want the flap to open that way, and we want this pocket, there's the top. So I'm opening it up, finding where the tube is, grabbing a little bit of glue, and I'll stick the tube over this one. You know what, I should have dry fitted this one. I realized, actually I did dry fit it and realized this one was a little tight, so I'm going to just trim down that a little bit more. No harm, no foul. Alright, and again, keep it so it doesn't go down to the very bottom, but you want to make sure you cover the tape. And you also want it to be even with this. Open these pages. If I were doing it again, I would put these on last, but live and learn. I'm squishing this just so the glue gets all through there. Okay, and we're going to make a pocket for the back page. So you'll need a piece of cardstock that is 4 by 6, and you're going to put the long side at the top and score at 1/2 inch and at 5 1/2, and then rotate and score at 1/2 inch. Let's go ahead and trim the corners. And we'll miter up here and down there. So I'm going to burnish. And let's just grab some glue. And just simply put that on the last page. And go ahead and burnish that. Alright, I'm going to attempt to make a pencil box. So I have cut a piece of heavyweight cardstock 7 by 8. With the 8-inch side at the top, I score at 3/8 of an inch. I score at 7 1/2, 7 3/4. Then I rotate and score 3/8. Score at 3 3/8 and 3 3/4. Yeah, 3 3/4. And then I scored at 6 3/4. Now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim. You know what, actually I'm going to miter, real slate miter to there. So I'll miter those 4 scores at the bottom. And let's see. As you can tell, I'm just figuring this out. We'll see if it works. Alright, I'm going to miter that first and then cut off this end and then miter here and cut off all that. I'm using my big scissors. Maybe I should have kept a little tab. Yeah, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut this here, cut that half, cut that here. I'm going to cut this, I'm going to move this little teeny tab over and cut on the line. To there, and then cut this little tab. Just a little bit below the score line. Alright, let us grab a bone folder, burnish, and let's see how this will work. So burnish on all the folds. I wonder if I could have used lightweight cardstock. I probably could have. Alright, so my idea is to glue right there and glue the bottom. I think that will work. Will this hold in the top? To some extent. I'm wondering if I should just cut off the top and just, I don't know. But first, I do want to have a little hole. Oh, but I don't want both of those. How do you do that? How do you do one without the other? I guess I'll have to put it through my die machine. I'm going to do that and I will get back with you. Alright, well that didn't turn out like I wanted. So I wanted to use my oval die to cut a hole to see the crayons. But when I did, I don't know if you can see, but it made a line here just because it just didn't work the way I wanted it to. So if I were to do it again, if you have an oval die cut, I would cut this paper to fit the cover, put an oval in just the paper, and then trace around it on the box, the black part of it, and then cut a little bit wider with an X-Acto. That's the best I can tell you. Or else you can still use the cover of the original box and maybe trace around it, open up the cover, or just cover the actual cover of the box and just cut an oval in the cover a little bit smaller than what the oval was in the box. But or just put the colored pencils in without covering the box. Could do that as well. I'm going to show you how I make these little envelopes to put flowers in. See, it's got some flowers. So first I take a piece of, this is parchment paper. It's listed as wax paper at the Dollar Tree, but either would work. Wax paper, parchment paper, glassine. And I cut a piece that's 5 inches by 10. I'm going to fold it in half, just gently. I don't want to crease it there. And I'm going to take my scissors and cut from the folded corner to the open end. Now I'm going to put it on my scoreboard, and you can just fold it. You don't need to put it on your scoreboard if you don't want centering it. And I'm going to score it 2 1/4 inches from the center, so 8 1/4 and 2 1/4 inches from this side, so 3 3/4. I know, not very scientific. And then I want to score, I guess I'll do it this way, score 1/2 inch on the long side with the short side at the top, so we can make a fold at the bottom. Take it off of here. So now I'm going to fold on the score lines. And again, you can just fold it without scoring. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a bag to hold flowers or feathers or any treasures. You're going to take some ATG. You could take glue, but glue does make it pucker a little. So just going to do that, and then I will put some ATG on the bottom. I'm going to trim a little bit, miter the corners, and fold this up, and then put some more ATG down. And fold this up. So there you've got it. Oops, it's a little. There you've got a little bag. It's open at the top. I mean, you could fold it and tack it down if you want to, but I don't mind that it's open. It allows for some air to get through. And those are going to go inside the hidden pocket, so you can, whoever's got the book can use them and collect some flowers. And either you can leave them in the pockets or you can put them in the little book that we have in there. So that's how we make the little glassine envelopes. So I'm going to show you how I decorate this mini album, Traveler's Guide, I don't know what you'd call it. But I've already cut the paper, so I'm going to be putting them on. So if you want, you can go along with me. Just pause if you need to cut papers, if you want to do it the exact same way as me. But so for the front cover and the back cover, you'll need 2 sheets of paper, 5 3/8 by 7 3/8. So I've already got this piece, and I am just simply using my art glitter glue. I love this paper, but I didn't get to use it in this book. But I used it in other projects. I'm not going to decorate the cover right now. I'm just going to put this paper on it. So, doesn't that look fabulous? So we'll do that. And then here's the back cover. And I've already inked. I used some walnut stain, Tim Holtz Distress ink. Really any brown ink on a stamp pad would work. So you can use whatever you want. I like to use the alcohol ink, or not alcohol ink. I like to ink around it. It just makes everything coordinate. It adds a rustic touch. If I use bright papers, I find I don't like to ink. But if I'm using something with nature tones or vintagey looks, then I will definitely use some ink around the edges. So there we go on there. Make sure I'm right side up, which I'm not. All right, now I also cut little strips of that same paper for the sides and the bottom of those pockets. So let's see what I got. So I should have 4 of the same and then 2 of the same. The 2 long ones are for the bottom and the 4 are for the sides. So this is just a smidgen less than half. It is 7/16 wide, so just a smidgen less than a half. And this is 5 5/16 long, and these ones are 3 13/16 long. So I am just going to use some glue. What I like to do is cut all the papers, and I just sort of tack them in with just a touch of ATG. You could use some removable tape if you wanted to, or just place it where it needs to go. I tend to go back and forth in my books a lot, so I like to make sure it's going to stay. So I just tack it in with the ATG, and that way if I don't like something, I can always move it before I've glued it down. So this is going on the side. I know it's hard for you to see. So we did that. Now I'm going to do this side. When I put my glue down, I like to have it around the edge, so then when you use your bone folder, it will go just up to the edge and hold it in nicely. So even though the back of the book is all done in blues, I'm still using this just so it looks consistent when it's closed. So we'll put it on, and then we'll be done with these little pieces, and then I won't be worried about losing them. Alright, so see, I got the bottom and these little sides. Alright, now I already have, take this off, a magnet, and I put some tape on the top of it just because I knew I was going to be messing around with this stuff and I didn't want it to come off while I was moving things around. So I don't always do that, but sometimes if I don't immediately cover it, I'll put a piece of tape just to make sure it stays in place. So this this pocket is 4 and 5 1/4, so I'm cutting paper 3 13/16 by 5 13/16. The thing about plaid is there's no right way to put it on. I know somewhere I've got my baby wipe. Well, I'm going to use paper towel for this moment. Alright, and then on the inside, so the width of this is 5 1/8. As you can see, I just use the bottom because this is going to go inside and you won't see it, and you could go all the way down if you wanted to 7 1/4, but I'm not going to because you don't see it, and this was a scrap paper, so I'm just using this. Go up to that score line. Oops, make sure it's centered. And there we go. And I'm going to just take my phone folder and make sure it's real good there. So here you can see where I have the other magnet, and you'll need 2 pieces for the front and the inside, 6 13/16 by probably same thing that was. 5 3/16. I like a real thin border on mine. I mean, if you like a bigger border, you can just go 1/4 of an inch smaller, so then you'll have 1/8 of an inch on each side, but I like less. I think, yep, I have that one. And again, I've already inked this, so it should go fairly quickly. When I'm putting in the papers, I like to coordinate. So I have the greens here. I mean, it's not matchy-matchy, but it coordinates. So this was the same size as the other one. And as I go through this, if I have added any extra, because I added a couple of flaps that I did not put on my original tutorial. You know, as you're decorating, you get different ideas sometimes. And I'll do this same tutorial for a couple of different papers. Now we'll only do the one tutorial, but then I'll do project shares showing you different papers, because that way you can see how versatile a tutorial can be. Trying to center this best I can. And again, I already inked around the edges. So there we've got that. Now I did cut a little strip to go in the center here. I don't always, but this was such a big border because this is 1/2 inch wide. So go about 11/16 by, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, 11/16 by 7 5/16. You have to make sure you go in between the score lines when you're putting something on the spine, or else it will catch. So that is good. All right, and this is where we have all those photo mats. And again, I've already added a magnet. And to be honest, I just cut paper. I didn't figure out yet exactly where it's going to go. So we can do that together. I mean, it's just plain cardstock. And you don't even need to add anything here. Because these are 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So you're going to put photos right there. And if you don't cover it with paper, then you don't have to trim down the photos. Sorry, I didn't show you that as I was doing it. But it's just green covering the magnet. And then here's the other magnet there. But for a more finished look, I like to do that. And you still can put the photos right on top. You don't have to trim them if you don't want to. I could have done the brown. Of course, I have the tape on it, but you could peel it off. But I still like the green here, just to keep with the color schemes I was going with. This is probably why people like to decorate first, because you can really burnish real well. Alright, so now I have all these pockets that open, and I have these different papers. You know, first I'm going to glue this down. I liked using the plaid here because it had all the colors, and it just sort of pulls everything together. I didn't put anything. This is 1/8 inch gusset. I didn't put anything on there. I'm just leaving that the way it is. Alright, so we've got 2 there. So I know I'm going to do 1 green, and I'll do 1 red. These I need to adjust in size a little bit. This is a little big. I just cut off a little bit. Oh, so the size of these, this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So you 4 1/4 by, oh, so you want 4 3/4 by 4, maybe 4 1/16. some red here, but I need to trim because, well, just because it had to trim a little, because this was inside this one, so it's just got a little bit of it's a little shorter than the other one. So that looks like that. That looks okay. So then on this one, this will go inside. I'll want the red on the top and the green on the bottom. Yeah, look, I need to cut about a 1/4 inch off of that one. So this turns out to be 4 5/8 by 3 15/16. And then I'll also include stickers. Use the dark green. I'll also include stickers with this. So if you put a photo on here, and let's say you do a 3 by 3 photo or 4 by 4, you're still going to have some extra room. So if I put the stickers in, then the recipient can take the stickers and add them to any blank space if they don't use that for journaling. And it'd be great to journal next to all of the pictures, because you think you'll remember everything, but you may not. Alright, so that's right. Let's just continue. So if that was red, I'll put red on the back. If it was green, I'll put green on the back. The other reason I ink the edges is because I don't like the white core of the cardstock showing. You might not be particular about that like I am, but it drives me crazy. And this one might fit without any trimming, but I'm going to trim it down just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just to be sure. And if you, like I said, when I do bright colors, I don't ink the edges, but I don't like the white showing. So I might use something like this. This is a distressed stain. It's got a, like a shoe polish, you know, when we used to polish our shoes. That kind of top. I've probably had this for 5 years and it's still 3/4 full. I feel like I use it a lot, but I guess there's just a lot in there. So that's something you could use if you want to just darken the edges, but not real distress. Here, I'll show you. So, do you see the white? Maybe a little. I just sort of take it and touch the top just to activate it, and just go around there. That's more than enough. But it'll take away the weight from the edge. And when you're putting it on black, and I use black a lot, it helps hide the white core of the paper. Alrighty, and one more. The ones that are on the inside, I seem to have to do a lot more. Alrighty, so these go first. Those, and then those, and then this, and then that. So there we go. So you can see some of the red showing, which is fine because we've got red there. So now when doing that, I realized I should have put red up here, but that's okay. All right, now we'll do the back of here. So I have the mousse paper for here, and I did cut out a little tag, not a little tag, one of the cut aparts, and I'm gonna add that to one side. Now when I originally made the tutorial, I didn't think I was going to do that. So it's not in the tutorial. I guess I should have told you what size that was. It is 4 by 4 5/8. And I did trim this down a little because it had a lot of empty space at the top. So just get this to the size you want, and then cut at 1/2 inch plus a little bit for the border around it. I just loved how that looked with the paper. Whoops, I was out of camera. And now I'll need to cut something for the back. But that'll hide that little thing. And of course I inked around the edges for this one. So this is, I need 3 5/8 by 4. What do I have that's that size? I mean, I've got this that I could put there. Now I want something that you can, I'm going to use the brown so you can write on it. There we go. Now you could write on it. You would probably need to use a gel marker, or I've seen people write things out on their computer, print it out on white paper, no big deal, and then add it to these places for journaling. Oops, how did you get so crooked? All right, and of course I don't have any magnets on there. You could add one if you wanted to, but it's going to stay in place, so I didn't think it was necessary. And there we go. So we have that page done. Now we have these two, and so another journaling card or cut apart. So I'm going to measure this for you. So this is 5 by 6. This cut apart is 4 by 6, is that right? So this has to be bigger. This is by 6 1/4. So there's the very slight border here, and I scored this at 3/4. I think it scored it almost 1 inch. Again, just make it so it will fit on there. You miter covers a little. With journaling cards, they seem to do about 1/4 of an inch bigger. So should I do it on that side or do it on the other side? Let's do it on the other side for something unexpected. Because if it did it on the same side all the time, it would get boring. So now I've got brown paper. Well, I'll glue this on. So I've got brown paper and I've got the paper with the patterns. Which do we like? This there. See, I don't like this because this is a different brown. I'm sorry, I keep getting out of camera. That's a different brown. But if we do that, nah, let's go this way. It looks more balanced over here. And I love all these emblems of camping. The boot and the tree and the chocolate, hot chocolate, the lantern, the tent. So you could have gone that way, but I honestly, I just like that wood paper. And I wanted it to look a little different. Once you put photos on here, it'll help it look more consistent. All right, and I need something for the back of here. So I don't want to put another cut apart on the back. I was looking to see if the back was plain enough, but no, that's a little too busy for me. So let's see what I've got. Do I have any more of this wood paper? I do. It goes the wrong way. I don't have any plain brown paper. You know what? I have this, which has the same color, so I'm going to use this. I have to distress it. This was from the 6x6 paper pad, but I would just use whatever scraps you have around. You know why I like this? Because it's got lines on it. And if you were to journal on here, you can journal using the lines. So that's what I'm doing. And the colors match. Okay. So there we go with that. See? That came out okay. Alright, now for this page, I have yet again matching pages. And I have this little cut apart, which is 3x4. I trimmed down a bunch because there was lots of white space on it and I didn't like it. So if that's 3x4, well, cut down, I want 4.5 by 3 And then again, I trimmed that and I inked around it, and I will use this scrap. And that looks about the same size. This to the flap. So, do I want brown or do I want green? You know what? I did the brown before, and there's a lot of green in this one. So I'm doing the green. All right, I did it on the right side last time. I'm doing it on the left. Oops. Keep my surface clean so it doesn't look so messy. Everything around the camera is. This is such fun paper to work with, even if you don't go camping. Oops, these I need to pull out. All right, let me show you what these are in a second. I used to have my camera way up there, so I'm used to doing that. I said, oh, pull it closer to me, make it easier. And then I forget, and that looks good. And I keep being off camera. All right, this one is four and 3/4 by 3 and 13/16. This one, yes, it went all the way to the bottom, almost. So, 4 and 3/4. You could go as long as 7 inches, but this is 6 and 3/4. Again, if it's in the pocket, you can go shorter. Nobody will ever see it. There we go. I think I had a cut apart for the top there. Pretty sure I did, but same measurement as the one on the front. Good thing that glue dries clear, huh? Okay, and again, there's already a magnet there. And a magnet on that top. And I have a little smidgen for here. Again, just cut it a smidgen shorter than 1/2 inch. Okay, pull that out. We'll go over that in a bit with, we're talking about all the other add-ons. So this one again is shorter. Because you don't see it. We're getting there. Don't you love this paper? And then this one, I think I told you the measurement on the other side. It is 5/8 by 7 3/16. I didn't put this one. Did I put that one? No, I just taped it. Alright, so we have this. So this is a book that was, I had in my stash, but I think I got it at the dollar store. Alright, I didn't record me covering this book. There's two different kinds. This one is bound with stitching, and you can just cover it. Obviously, you find the size you want and just cover it and fold it at the seam, and then you're good to go. This one has a lot more pages than you probably want, and obviously it's the wrong size for the book. That was from the Dollar Tree. It's a hardcover. If I had thought about it, I would have just taken designer paper and just cover it a little bit smaller than the book. So much easier than what I did, and this blue would have matched with it, but I reached for a different color one and decided to peel off the pages which are attached with this front cover. So here's a picture of me, put lighter fluid all on one side, let it sit for a minute, and then peeled off the cover, and then I covered the book because now the pages were out. So if you just use something a little bit bigger than the book is 7 by 5, so use 9 by 7 cardstock, and just miter the corners and fold it in, and then glue the book, the papers and the cover back on. You can't tell that I had peeled it off. And by the way, I used lighter fluid, but undo would have worked. I just don't have any in my stash, and I can't find it in the stores around me. All I'm going to do is put this Adventure Bear constellation on there. And that's all I need to do with that one. And that, it got chunky when I put the cover on. I mean, it still fits, but it's still chunky. And then I have the glassine bags, or the wax paper bags that I made. So I made 3, and one's already got some dried flowers, so then you get the idea that's what they're for. And I'm going to put those in one of the hidden pockets. And that's why I didn't want to put that's why I didn't want to tie it, because I knew these would get scrunched. And then here, let's take a look at these. So I took some of my dried flowers and made some bookmarks with them. I had a little tag topper, and I tied a little of the Country Craft Creations seam binding at the top. This one's a little smaller than the other ones. I cut them 5 inches and then put the tag topper. So I just have some extra ones. So, so you get the idea to make them. So I'm going to put these in the other hidden pocket with the ribbons sticking out. I think these that I've made already, I'm going to take and put into this pocket. I need to find some kind of embellishment for that, and then we'll do a walkthrough. Alright, and I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of the book. Now, I did do a little video of the cover, and it's on the Country Craft Creations Facebook page, so if you're a member you can check it out. I think I posted it on about the 8th of July 2021, and it just was a real quick thing, but basically just cut some green paper and inked the edges, cut some light green paper, inked the edges, took stickers of the trees and stickers of the mountain and put them underneath there. I made this tree stump just out of this this wood grained paper, and cut it, you know, just like a tree shape, inked around the edges, and then I just took a scrap of paper and cut that part just to make the top of the stump, glued it on there. I have the bottom protruding a little, which is what I want, so it sort of pops off the paper. Took a sticker of the lantern and the butterflies in the jar, and then the tree branches, and stuck them on. Cut this down a little bit, glued it onto another 3x4 cut apart, inked around the edges, glued it on, and we are done with the cover. I did do this little sticker on the spine. I didn't do anything on the back. I know I should, but I just haven't figured out exactly what I want. So it opens up, and you see this is fairly thick. That's that 1/2 inch gusset, and then this opens up like that. I'm not going to take everything out because I did that already. I just wanted to do a quick walkthrough so you can see it all put together. Just in case you had any questions, that's where I put the wax paper pouches. There's the little cut apart flap with the moose and deer and bear paper. Here is the other flap with the camping icon paper. Camp more, worry less. And here's the pocket with all of the bookmarks. And then the back page has the completed bookmarks. And the back cover has the notebook in it. So I'm sure you can figure out a lot of cool things to do with this kind of book. Again, maybe you don't want to put colored pencils in. Maybe you want to put markers, or maybe you go to the Dollar Tree and find little crafty kits to stick in the pocket, or magnifying glass, and something for catching bugs, if that's what floats your boat. I love the idea of having the notebook in the back. Maybe this is where you could put a pen to journal with. So lots of great ideas, lots of room for embellishments. I'd love to see what you make. If you do, post it on the Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations Facebook page. And all these materials can be purchased at countrycraftcreations.com. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so you know when I make my next project, which may be with the Let's Go Camping paper, or it may be something different. So thanks so much for watching. Have a fabulous day.